What we do here is go back.
How's it going, everyone, and welcome to episode 47 of the Lost Media podcast. Today we're talking about Bye Bye Beavers, the last episode of the Angry Beavers show. Was it the last episode? No, it was never aired or finished. This was an episode of the show where the creators directly referenced the network, complained about the show's really ridiculous schedule and over budget, and just general poor practices of being created, and it was awesome. They went completely out of character, and they referenced one another in real life during the recording of this. This was all mythicality up until 2006, when the audio was officially released, and everyone got a taste of just how absurd this was. There was a lot of problems with this, but incredibly, Nickelodeon were like, yeah, sure, you can make this. And they were greenlighting it as they went from next stage to next stage in the production of this show. It's unreal to listen back to. It's crazy. I recommend you guys, it's in the description, to click on it and have a listen to it. It's so interesting. They break the fourth wall multiple times. You know, they talk about how each other's characters have died multiple times in the show, but yet they're still there talking to one another. It's really cool. It does end, though, in a disappointing kind of way, with them going April Fools and it not being the last episode. This is nothing like Kablam. Kablam was made up by people on the internet. This is obviously a real thing that they were actually going to make, that they were just like testing to see how much they could get away with. And it sucks. I wish this was made. It's very annoying. You know? This is one of those really great animation moments that wasn't ever to be. It's cool listening to it. It doesn't matter if it wasn't animated. It is awesome listening to it. Just like all the other shows on Nickelodeon or any massive US television network. I never saw this when I was a kid. Again, you needed to have to pay a lot of money in Australia to get these shows beamed to you. And this wasn't on free-to-air television here. Australia is very different to the US. We only had like 4 TV channels when I was a kid. And if you wanted more, you had to pay a significant amount of money. And my parents weren't really into television and knew that would probably not be any good for us. Especially considering I kind of lived in a country town, and you're better off going out and about and doing stuff than staying at home watching television. And me running a Lost Media channel, you can obviously tell that I was obsessed with television when I was a kid. I still stayed home all the time watching television, regardless of us not having paid TV. So you could imagine if I had Nickelodeon as a kid, yeah, that would not be good. That would be a complete disaster. But I never did see this. But it's still so interesting listening to an episode where they literally shit on Nickelodeon and shit on their practices of, you know, rerunning episodes all the time, and the animators not getting paid their fair dues, and the creators not getting paid over and over. But the network makes a shit ton of money off it. And Nickelodeon, the people running it, were just like, wait a minute, this is shitting on us. Hang on. What the hell? Did I just go Australian and then American accent at the end of my sentence? I think I did. Yeah, that's not good. Yeah, very, very funny. Very funny to hear about this. The first time I heard about this, I think it was another Blame It on George video. And it's one of those moments where I wish I created something like this. I've been in a few productions where I just didn't want to be involved in it. It was fun at the beginning, and then towards the end, you're just like, this. You just want to shit on it. I could tell a story. I want to talk more about Angry Beavers, but towards the end of this podcast, I'm going to tell a story about how I actually technically did the same thing, but it did go to air. I just remembered that. This is one of those pieces of a network, or one of those cases of lost media where the network would probably be very angry that the audio was leaked. And it's also one of those cases of lost media that's kind of sad. I would have loved to see this aired on Nickelodeon. I would have loved to see the network have some sort of testicles and air this. But they're obviously a bunch of pussies. And as soon as they found out what the Angry Beavers were doing, it's like, oh, it's so bullshit. It's like, obviously they're making very valid points about this. It's one of those things where they find out what's being made and they listen back to the audio before the episode's been greenlit for animation. They go, oh, but you never complained about this to us directly. Oh, this is not, you can't be talking shit about us in this. This is a bad look for us. It's like, this is exactly what was needed for a show on Nickelodeon. The creators to come out and just be like, we're cartoon characters. Don't you get it? We're not real. And this network's ridiculous. And they rerun shows. Do they pay the animators? No, of course they don't. I think the funniest part of this is when they name each other. They reference their real life names in this. It's great. It's hilarious. God, this would have been one of the most fun recording sessions. And I'm surprised this was gonna be the actual audio. I have a feeling this wasn't gonna be the audio in the episode. There's crew members laughing in the background, laughing their asses off. But this was gonna be animated. A storyboard's been made for it that was released by the storyboard artist for this show. Like, it was all the animator, I guess you could say. It was all going ahead, which is just like, huh? When you listen to this audio, it just sounds like they've finished an episode and they're just like a bit tired of working on the show and a bit pissed off with it, and they just want to have a laugh and just shit on it. But it is obviously heavily scripted, so you can tell that this had effort put into it. There was some work put into this. This was going to be a real show. Would have been a lot of fun to watch. Kids would have watched this and been so damn confused. Nickelodeon had this thing, and this is a regular on kids channel, kids television channels and with kids shows. It's not a regular with adult shows, but they're never allowed to reference the last episode of a kids show, because what Nickelodeon, obviously, as I mentioned, what they want to do is rerun, and just pretend that there's no such thing as a last episode. It's like the ending of the Futurama. As soon as it ends, it starts all over again, and that's what they wanted to pull off with all their shows, including Angry Beavers. So them mentioning it being the last episode, even though they said April Fools at the end, that's a practice of Nickelodeon shows that is not allowed. We need to make as much money as possible, and you are not allowed to reference the final episode. That's not a thing on this television program. I just feel bad for all the people involved in any show where Nickelodeon just seems like it's got an iceberg of just being a kind of shitty network to work for. I think there's borderline abuse that's happened over the years at that television station. They really seem like they're just scumbags. You scumbags. I don't know. It's like the creators obviously were burnt out, and apparently it was going over budget, and there was too much pressure on how much to do, or it was under budget. From the research I've done of this, it did say it was going over budget, and that was adding too much stress to the creative process, and they were just fed up with working under the types of, I don't know, working for something that clearly it was the network benefiting more off and not them. And I think it's a funny troll that they made this, and it was like, it wasn't even I guess what I'm trying to say. My brain just went to shit. It's a funny troll that they were able to get to a certain level of certain stage of production in this episode without Nickelodeon realizing that the joke was on them, till they finally saw that the joke was on them. I was trying to sing that Wallflowers song, that the joke was on me, but I didn't. Yeah, I'm going all over the place with this. This is a podcast, thank God. I'm just sharing my thoughts on what I think about it when shows do this, and when this is a practice in television shows, and when they get away with episodes like this. What I mean by when this is a practice in television shows, when they clearly overworked on something that is burning the creators out, and then they rebel against the network in a really hilarious way. I find it pretty cool. Um, as for the episode being lost, it's been found technically. What was made on it was found. So you could almost call this found lost media, really. It's kind of like partially found, I think technically, but that it wasn't finished. Like it was barely even started. As soon as that audio was leaked, that's basically the lost episode being leaked. Like that's it. They never animated anything, but some people like to spread rumors and theorize that it was aired down here in the old country in Australia, the actual episode. But the people who are involved were like, no, Nickelodeon stopped. Oh, I made a noise in my mouth again. Nickelodeon stopped production. Like they ceased it entirely, and this wasn't able to be done. But that's pretty much all I have to say about this Angry Beavers episode. I think it's yeah. All I can say is it's very fun to listen to. Have a listen to it, guys. It's really good. Uh, I enjoy how talented listening to how talented the voice actors are comedically, and just how great they are at pointing fun at the network after doing so many real episodes of the show. It's great, very hilarious. Bye bye Beavers. That's all I can say. What I was gonna say was I used to run a radio station. I didn't run a radio station. I ran a show on a radio station. And it was like a local community station, but I was like 19 years old and I was just a little shit. I didn't understand what I had at the radio station. This was back in 2018, so this was a long time ago. And I kind of didn't want to go there, and I didn't really want to present the radio, but I felt as though I did a lot of things for that I shouldn't have done. Like, I think I took the reins too much when other people were just being a bit lazy. In terms of running the vision switcher thing, of course, me being a selfish, spoiled little brat 18-year-old, that was how I viewed it. But I did do a lot for that, and I felt like I had to run the show way too much, and people weren't taking in turns in terms of running the panel. When you're doing a radio station, they've got the massive panel in front of the person who's panel operating, and I was the main presenter of the show, the panel operator, and I think I was like I think I read out sporting news as well, and obviously all three of those things they take a lot of practice to do, and obviously it's a lot of stress. And I think the first 3 or 4 times I did it, it was more stressful than it was fun, and then it became a sort of fun, and then by the end I was like, nah. I think we did 6 shows, so it must have been the first 3 times I did it, and then shows, or the first couple of times I did it, and then I started to have fun with shows 3 and 4, and then by 5 I was like, eh. And then they announced that if you want to keep doing this, you got to drive all the way up, and I didn't have a means of travel back then. So on the last episode, my mate suggested, hey, let's sing karaoke. This is our last ever appearance on radio. We'll never go back on radio. We're not interested in it. Let's sing karaoke and just say fuck it. So we sang Evanescence Bring Me to Life at the end of our show. This is in the description. I will link it to you guys. I'd equate this to the same thing as the Angry Beavers one, but the only difference is this went to air, and I got in serious trouble for this. Not from the radio station. The radio station didn't actually hear it or care. My radio teacher who organized the show was just not happy, and I was a little brat back then, 19 years old. I didn't give a shit about anything or anyone, and I didn't realize that I was foiling his show. But that was kind of me rebelling against, like, that was a stress relief. And I think this, in some ways, this Angry Beavers episode was a stress relief for the creators who were penting up all this. I guess they were penting up a lot of these opinions that they felt needed to be voiced in the circles of this show and in Nickelodeon. And I had a lot of that pent up. A lot of this pent up stress from making this show, and I just wanted to do something crazy to end it, just for fun, and just say fuck it. In that last radio show, I'm all over the place. I'd love to post those, but there's a lot of issues. I have to post them to, like, even on SoundCloud I can't, because there's a lot of songs in them, but because it's radio. But we'll see how we go. one day with those. Yeah, very, very fun. Very ridiculous. So stupid. There are some good moments in that though. It's great. Thanks guys for watching episode 47 of the Lost Media podcast. In case you guys don't know, I'm changing up this podcast just a little bit. I'm doing 6 episodes a week now instead of 10. I was doing 14 a week, but then again, I was just going on and on and on with 2 a day for like 19 days straight. I was gonna do 10 a week, two every weekday, but then it just this week, my god, was awful. So it was it, and I feel like I want to make sure that all the episodes that have a lot of detail to them are well researched, so I can just take that day off to research 2 episodes properly instead of having to research them on the same day I do it. You can tell when I'm reading off a Lost Media Wiki article, it's something I didn't have the time to research, and I just want to read what's in the information that's there. And it's not the way I really want to present this podcast in the future. I want that to be a rarity. I did that with the Star Wars one and the Nickelodeon SpongeBob one, and I just kind of felt like I had to do all this extra editing. And I want this to just be a chill podcast where I already know what to say and I have all the information there, but I'm also just chilling, talking about something, and it's playing in the background. So that's what I want this show to be. I really appreciate the support, guys. Keep subscribing to the Ennui Talk podcast, the Ennui Radio YouTube channel. I know it's confusing. It's in the description. It's in the end screen. It's a podcast I co-host and Matthew Winter hosts, and it's freaking hilarious, guys. If you don't have time to listen to the podcast just yet, please subscribe to the channel and watch the shorts in the shorts section of the YouTube channel. There have been some hilarious clips released recently from this podcast, and it gives you a nice little taste tester of what the kind of comedy is on this podcast, if it's your thing, if it's not. But definitely give it a listen because it is hilarious. It's good content, trust me. Obviously not Lost Media and doesn't mention Lost Media, but if you just want to sit back and if you need something to listen to when you're going for a drive or you're just bored, this is a great podcast. In terms of the comedy levels, it's awesome. Ran by 2 goons, but we have fun. That's it, guys. That's the last Ennui Radio plug I'm ever doing. No, I'm joking. I'm back with another episode today that I'm really excited to cover, actually, because it's a Lost Media Where Are They Now? I love those. And then next week, I have a very special audio commentary only video coming out on Monday. And as I mentioned, it's 6 videos, 2 a day, and then a day off, and then 2, and then a day off, and then 2. And that's my week. And hopefully my schedule from now on. Wow, this has been a mouthful. This episode has gone way over time from the original topic. Cheers, guys. Bye-bye.